with this time?
Yeah, like I guess our firewall was getting hit big time. So for like 2 days, and so that's been resolved. So
Yeah, I mean, usually we have no issues.
yeah, I
And
think next week we should show me like as I'm walking through the office with my laptop on Skype.
yeah, oh yeah, how easily you can roam. We're gonna talk a little bit about that in a minute.
Yep.
But first, we gotta
But
talk
you wanted
about
to
the
talk about something like really important.
yeah the Tesla holiday update. It just dropped. Now your car got it too.
Yep, my car has it.
Yeah, so it's got some pretty cool stuff. Like the Apple Watch now fully will unlock and drive the vehicle. Well, you don't need a phone or key card, right? So it's like a third
Yeah,
backup, which is nice.
yeah,
Uh,
it's really nice.
um, they added mobile dash cam viewer, Sirius XM, which I like.
I'm
You're
not a
not a
fan
big
of
fan.
Sirius.
One thing
No, but
they
I am using the free Spotify.
free Spotify and free TuneIn. Um,
Yeah, I don't have an account with TuneIn, so I don't.
Oh, well, you can just create one and it'll let you sign in so you can just like pick what stations you like mostly like news and
Have
things
you
like
used
that.
it though?
I do use it, yeah, like news stations, CNBC, like things like that you can play.
Never even heard of it.
Oh yeah, I've used it. And it's kind of like, Pandora or something. It has like it has like stations with different, music types and things
Kind of
like
like
that.
Spotify too. Spotify's like that, right?
Yeah, yeah, they're all the same. But boy, you have a lot of options now for music streaming. Um,
Yeah.
and it sounds really good. Auto shift beta, like I've tried that out. That is crazy. Like now, only the Teslas with no stocks, like the Model 3 Performance, will do this.
Yeah.
So they added this thing that if you're like
I'm
doing,
still manual, by the way.
you still do, you still. I have mine on manual. Yeah, I have mine set to manual. But if you turn this auto shift on, it's like if you're doing 3-point turns, it'll come up to something and it'll to trigger it to go into reverse. You have to turn the wheel the opposite
Oh,
direction.
really?
Yeah, and then
That's
it'll
kind of
say,
funky.
yeah, it'll say, oh, okay, so and it actually works, but I don't trust it because like, what if there's a lot of cars around and you stop and then you turn the wheel and it goes into reverse, right? You're not
Yeah,
watching.
that would not be good.
Yeah, that'd not be good. So I'm like, I'm against that one. Although it was interesting. A couple of cool weather things. Like there's actually live weather maps on there now.
I finally, being in California, I finally got to use that yesterday because it was raining.
You saw some weather on the map. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
tons
so
of weather
I
here.
immediately opened that up to see
Yeah.
what that looked like. Um, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that
I
is
like
that
it.
is pretty cool. The one people seem most interested in is the rear cross traffic alert because Teslas have never had this before. Like if
Yeah.
you're in reverse and a car or a person's like walking in back of you, right? It never would alert you, and all these other vehicles will do it. Rivian does it. It has radars. It makes a noise. Have you tried that yet? It puts the red mark on the rear camera so you can see.
I mean, it's happened to me, so I've
Yeah,
seen it. Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
So it's a plus
It
because
highlights like either edge of the screen
yes.
based off where the direction of the person or the car's coming, and it highlights it like in a red, right?
Right, it puts like a
Which is
red
pretty cool.
a red highlight, so you can, if you're looking at the screen, it doesn't make a noise yet. They need to have it make a noise.
Yeah, I wonder why they didn't do that.
I don't know.
That
It's
seems
probably
like it would be.
regulatory. They probably have to go through something, I would think, but I don't know why they wouldn't have it make a noise. Um,
If anybody knows, drop a comment.
yeah,
So
exactly. New light show updates. Yeah, you can control the light show with your app now.
I haven't. Have you done the new one? I have not done
I
that.
have, I
My
have.
daughter Piper keeps asking me to do it. I keep forgetting to do it.
Yeah, you can do it with the app now. You can schedule it remote. Just stand there and turn it on.
Oh,
Um,
that's right. I gotta try
and
that.
and with the Highlander or the Cybertruck, it's got the RGB lights and it uses that now. It's like it pulses the lights in different colors.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah. And then a couple Easter eggs. They have Rainbow Road, which you can turn on with autopilot. It'll also use those. It'll put rainbows in those RGB lights.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've seen the Rainbow Road before though.
yeah. It's been around, but now it's even more rainbows. There's an option that will put it in the RGB lights.
Oh, okay.
And then
Huh.
one more. There's a Santa mode. Have you used Santa mode yet?
Yeah, but I feel like there's always been a Santa mode, right?
There,
Your car is now the sleigh, right?
yeah, there has always been a Santa mode, but now it uses the RGB lights and it goes red, green, white for Christmas colors.
Okay, I have to check that out.
Well, you don't have them in yours. You have to get the
Okay.
highlight.
So I can't
So I'm
check that
saying
out.
the light strips it uses those are the difference.
Oh,
Yeah, so
I don't care about those.
nah,
If I
you won't
can't
care
use it.
about it. But if you have a
So I
Cybertruck,
don't even know why we're talking about it.
Cybertruck or Model 3 Highland, it looks really cool. So yeah, that's a really nice update that Tesla can like push those over the air and like change your car overnight and give you more features.
Yeah, I think you and I talked about this a while ago. Like I remember like I had other cars that I would slowly kind of modify those cars.
Yeah,
And when you modified them, I always felt like a different car. Like you had
yeah,
not a new car, but it was a different car. But there's like a lot of cost to that, and
oh
there's some,
yeah,
there's inspections you're trying to get
yeah.
around and stuff like that, right? So with this, like you feel like you're getting like all this new stuff. Your car is constantly like updating, which is awesome.
Yeah. It's like you're getting mods on your car for free, and it's able to do new things,
Yeah.
which is really cool. It's not the same old thing, like it never really
I
gets
do
old.
wish they did stuff with the performance side.
Yeah,
Like, I
well,
mean, I don't know how much more they could do, but it would be pretty. Like your car, you can lower the suspension and things like that. Like my car, I can't do that.
yeah,
So I know I can't. They can't fine tune like the suspension or anything like that. But like if they gave me like an extra boost, or
extra
something,
power. They probably could. I mean, they already did it once on the pre-refresh. Now, on the Highland, they enabled in the track mode, which you never turn on in the street because you can get in trouble. Like,
Yeah,
but it is fun. I've done it a couple times, but in a parking
I've
lot.
done it once.
Yeah. But in the track mode on the Highland, they actually put this track endurance mode. It's called it'll dial down the power if you're on the track, so it won't overheat the battery.
Yeah.
In the motors, because the new Highland has a more powerful motor, right? Same battery as you
Yeah.
have, and that track endurance mode. So it's kind of the same thing, but they're giving it less power, so it'll last
Yeah.
on the track.
Better
But
performance though.
yeah,
Improves the performance.
yeah, they can do some performance things. We'll see in the future. All right, so a couple Wi-Fi things we want to talk about.
Yeah.
About roaming, Wi-Fi roaming. So, for the most part, the roaming is up to the client. If you have an office with multiple Wi-Fi access points, the client device is going to decide which one to roam to, right? Like, you're gonna basically you just have to configure the SSID and the encryption key and type to be the same on all the access points. And once the client's connected to one, it'll connect to all of them.
Right. Exactly.
So there hasn't been many ways to influence the roaming with the Wi-Fi system, other than you could turn the power down on the access points so that the client tends to roam quicker, or maybe disable the 2.4 gigahertz interface on some of the access points.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're always messing around with like the AP's placement, right? So you have like proper like overlap of Wi-Fi signals, and then you're playing around with I'm not playing around with, but you're adjusting like the output power. There's things like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So in your office, like when you have your device, your laptop, you can walk around and it'll seamlessly roam, right? Like if you're on Skype, it won't even disconnect.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna test that theory next week, I think. So.
Next week, not this week. Next week, we'll try it. So that's fast roaming, and that is a protocol, right? That's in the system.
Yeah, there's 802.11r, and what's the other one?
I don't know off the top of my head.
How do you not know? You don't know that?
I could look it up, but yeah, I know there's a couple protocols you can enable for that seamless roaming, so that
it's K.
K is a neighbor. I think that one is a neighbor protocol, right?
Yeah. So it's 802.11r, and I think K is the other one.
Yeah.
Now we used to have that within our interface where you could turn it on and off, but we removed that because it should be on
all the time now.
Yeah. But yeah, 11R is the protocol for like fast roaming, I think.
Okay. And now we have all three bands 2.4, 5, and 6 that these access points and clients can be on, right? And basically you can have those all on one SSID, and all three bands will be available. And as you walk around, the device is going to choose which band and which access point it's going to connect to, right?
Right. Yep.
And with the new iPhone 16s or 15s, these have 6 gigahertz now, Wi-Fi 7 on all the 16s, and
Yep.
you can tell if you're on 6 gigahertz if you go in the Wi-Fi settings, and if you see this Wi-Fi 6E mode on the connected SSID, that means you're connected at 6 gigahertz.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the only way to tell from the device, unless you have some tool on there, I guess.
Yeah, unless you're naming your SSID something specific on the 6 gigahertz.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are reasons to do that still. If you have some Internet of Things devices that they're only 2.4 gigahertz, maybe you do want to create a 2.4 gigahertz SSID.
Yep.
Because to use Wi-Fi 7 or 6E or 6 gigahertz at all, you have to have WPA3 encryption, right?
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
So you're going to want to have one WPA3 SSID that all your newer devices can connect to and roam between all access points in all three bands. But then you'll probably need to set up a legacy SSID with WPA2 encryption for your other like IoT devices, streaming devices, things like that.
Yep. And you experience that with Ring doorbell, right, or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of times Ring doorbell, I think they will do 5 gigahertz now. It depends on what it is. There's like a pro version, there's a standard version. Some of the older ones will only do 2.4. And, there's other features, Wi-Fi protected frame and all these features, like, they don't support
the
that.
management frames.
Yeah. Protected management frames, right? Like the Ring doorbells don't support that. So you can't do WPA3 with them. Or even WPA2 and enable that feature, which that feature will stop the denial of service attacks, right?
That's right, yeah. So, yeah, I think you're talking about 802.11w.
Yeah.
Which is enabling the management frame.
Yep.
Yeah, so what you're saying is some of the older devices can't recognize that, and they have difficulties connecting to that SSID, right?
Right. And we've talked about this before, but if you do have static devices that aren't going to be roaming, you can create SSIDs on specific access points so that they'll only connect to that one access point or maybe two that are closest to it, like the Ring doorbell. You don't want that roaming to different access points necessarily, right?
Yeah.
You may want to give it more than one for redundancy, but if you have like 6 access points in your house, you don't want that Ring doorbell trying to connect to all of them.
No, I actually had that issue, and what I ended up doing is having an SSID for my Ring doorbell, but it was only broadcasting on one of my APs.
Right.
So you can do things like that. I mean, it depends on your scenario, really.
Yeah, like I have a garage SSID that's just broadcasting on my access point in the garage for the cars to connect to. Cars,
I do the same thing.
Garage door opener, just those devices. Now, that access point also has my main SSID, so if I'm walking around my phone, it'll connect to that, right? So a couple things you can do. Now, the Ingenious Cloud's going to be adding some features to influence roaming even more, right?
Yeah, so we've had this before. We haven't had it in cloud, but it's called fast handover.
Yeah.
So like what you were saying is typically that's up to the client device roaming, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're providing the ability. I think it will be probably by early June, maybe June 3rd or 4th. The ability to adjust the RSSI. So we'll give you. And that will give you the ability on 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, and 6 gigahertz. Basically, there will be 3 parameters One is force disconnect threshold, probe request threshold, and association request threshold, and you'll be able to adjust the RSSI on those three items. So that will help you, implement better roaming in a scenario. Now, there's guardrails that, typically we don't give these configurations because there's guardrails already in place, and we're kind of opening up for like somebody that's really experienced to be able to modify those things. But if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't educate yourself around it, you can get yourself not into trouble, but you can cause a lot of problems for yourself.
Right. You can make your network less than optimal if you set those parameters to be, signal strength too high. Then the client will never be able to associate to the access point, right? It'll just
exactly.
It's going to be, so it'll be a way for the access points to influence the roaming way more than they can now, right? Right now it's mostly up to the client device, although when it does roam, there's protocols in there that make it seamless, but if it holds on to a 2.4 gigahertz radio that's like further away than the next access point, there's not a lot you can do, right? Because it sees that signal, it's like, I'm still good, I'm not going to let go.
And so currently right now you can adjust the output power. The minimum bit rate is another thing that you can mess around with. Your AP placement is another piece, right? And so we wanted to add another deeper level of being able to modify the RSSIs then.
Right, but be careful. Ask us before you do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, so there's that, and the other feature that you didn't want to talk about is something called MyPSK.
MyPSK, yeah.
And that's typically used in like multi-family units in student housing, where when you join a network, like just think of your home network, when you and your family go into your house, you're connecting to the same SSID, and everybody has the same security or the same passcode to join that. Yep.
So what if you kick
the same password to use?
So what if you kick one of your family members out? Do you have to change the passphrase?
Yeah, man. You don't want them coming back, right? Yeah. So you kick that cousin out. Yeah. You don't want them coming back. Or whatever, and so you don't want them to use your network. So you have to now change your Wi-Fi password again and then tell everybody in your family, here's the new password, right?
Right.
So with MyPSK, everybody has their own password to join the network, and you can actually set parameters around that MyPSK to maybe your cousin comes in once a month. Or for 3 months, he's sleeping on your couch. You can give him access for like 3 months.
Yep.
And then it will automatically disable that pre-shared key or that password.
Right. So it is like having a separate account for every user, basically.
Yeah, it's an easy way to set up a passcode for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that's MyPSK. Now, we can do up to 5,000 MyPSKs within a network, and that's a lot, right? So on those larger ones. But we have improved, one of the things that we wanted to improve is the roaming ability when using MyPSK. So that is enabled now, that has been improved. So that's a big deal.
Because the access point has to hold all those PSKs in memory, right?
Yeah, it's holding. Yeah, so every single access point has to be aware of the MyPSK passcode.
Yeah.
And so it's holding in the memory all these passcodes. So that's another reason why you want to choose like the right access point for those types of deployments, right? You want something that has the capacity to remember all these these MyPSKs, for example. That's like one example. So you want to use like a 230, a 220, or like a 215 in like these scenarios where it has the memory and the processing power to hold all these MyPSKs. So you don't want to use like a cloud, you don't want to use a FIT model, for example.
No.
Yeah, I know. Or you don't want to use a. Yeah, well, I'm telling you don't want to use those, right? So don't.
And is the MyPSK is it a pro only feature? Is it or is
It
it,
is a pro
you
feature.
don't get any if on the standard cloud?
No, not for MyPSK because
Okay. It
the
takes
memory storage there is
resources.
a lot.
Yeah, it takes resources. It makes sense. But
Yeah.
this is a nice thing to have, but most people won't need it. But any type of businesses should be using it.
Yeah, we use it here in our office. There's approximately 40 people here. We
Yeah,
use it for just 40 people.
right,
So,
right. So
um,
larger businesses should be using it. Home use, it's kind of overkill. Unless you really wanted to do that. But
yeah, just for like, yeah, just I say for fun, but if you want to do it for fun, yeah, you could do it for fun. The other thing you can do is you can tie those MyPSKs, those pre-shared keys or
mhm.
passwords, to individual VLANs.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So, like, if I'm a student in student housing and I'm in my dorm and I use my passcode, I'm on my own separate VLAN.
Yep.
And then, if, say, for example, I walk to a common area, um, that SSID is being broadcasted in the common area. I'm linking with my passcode. I'm still on my same VLAN.
Right. So one
Yeah. So, I
SSID,
mean,
multiple VLANs, and they're for specific people basically. So as you
yeah,
walk around, you're gonna connect that same SSID, but you're gonna get your VLAN, um,
you're going to be
and
on your VLAN,
and
right?
it's gonna
Yep.
be secure your traffic from anyone else seeing it, right?
Yeah, and so if you say, for example, you have a printer and you're at your in your dorm and you want
Right.
to print something, you could do that.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome. Um, so yeah, so definitely, MyPSK is great for these campus situations, businesses. Let us know if you have any questions about it. Anything else you want to talk about this week?
Just really quick on the RSSI, you can do that as a group configuration and on the individual AP as well.
Oh, okay, okay.
So that
So
would be the only thing.
so yeah, so if you had an access point out in the open, you may want different settings than the one that was like enclosed in concrete room or something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So great. So a lot more flexibility coming in Genius Cloud. We still have the promo on the EC3 536 and 526. So grab those before the end of the year.
Buy two, get one,
Yeah,
man.
buy two get one. It's a good deal. Getting some Wi-Fi 7 equipment to test out. Okay, remember like and subscribe. Be back next.